You're listening to a Faith Matters podcast.
Here we go. Welcome back to Faith Matters as we head into Becoming Unoffendable, which is a blog Denise does every week, and we get the joy of having a look at these blogs and putting some thoughts to
Joy.
Joy. And this week, Denise's one, I love this one. It's calling all overthinkers. Yay, there's a good one, Denise. We can all relate to this. Who out there isn't an overthinker? Well, I'm
there
sure
actually
there probably
some.
are some. Yeah, I don't know them.
It's funny, I've just got a number of friends and we've had great conversations in the last few months about different things that are going on for them, and they're just like, they just can't stop overthinking stuff. And so but I was quite fascinated by when I send out the newsletter, sometimes people respond to me via newsletter, and I had responses from people that I didn't expect, and I'm like, oh, you're in that boat too. Interesting.
Yeah, well, I was out with Denise. We often catch up for a coffee over the week, and we were out somewhere, and I'd heard something, and as we were walking out of the cafe, Denise turns to me and goes, now don't overthink that. And I'm like, I'm already there, Denise. I'm already overthought it.
Tell.
I started at the beginning, I was heading towards the end. I am so overthinking right now.
And in that particular instance, it perhaps, it was a good idea to not overthink it. But actually what brought on this blog was I got an email through, and I've lost it. I've permanently deleted it. So I looked and I can't find it. So I can't tell you where or who or what. But it was sort of all the scientific stuff behind overthinking. And their conclusion was actually that overthinking itself is not a bad thing. It's actually a really good thing, which I found fascinating because I've got all of these overthinkers going, I just can't stop. I can't turn off my brain. I mean, they don't say it like that.
Well, no, I mean, if I think about overthinking, it's because I want to look at something so many different ways.
Yeah.
And I have information, in your blog you talk about this, I have information in my brain that will back up what I'm thinking, but I want to think of it in a different way. And so I'm looking at different things. As I'm overthinking, I'm also challenging myself.
Yeah, and what this scientific article talked about was let it complete its process, because when you're looking at things from completely different angles, it will finally land. And the reason is because the brain is more of a structure. We know that you can get new neural pathways, and we talk about that sometimes on different shows. It's not that your brain is absolutely fixed, but you do have pathways that you use more often, and so that's where your brain is comfortable going. So it would rather fall into a rut and go along a comfortable path that it's already worn very well through than to have something new come at it. And so actually the email was about if you've had a discussion with somebody and say you had a childhood perspective and you expect a certain response in this situation and something different happens, how your brain is like, what the heck? And it's actually trying to reframe what something actually meant. So that was the context that the scientific one was talking. But I thought about it and I thought, well, you've got this structure, this framework that is your physical brain, and your physical brain is the thing that can be measured. It can be observed, and all the electromagnetic stuff, all the radiation stuff they can put through your veins, and they can watch what's happening. They can watch it light up, different areas light up, all those sorts of things. That's your physical brain. But it differentiated between your brain and your mind.
Yes.
And so I thought, wow, that is interesting. So the way that I pictured it is that your brain might be like a suitcase. So the framework's there. It's got extensions available, because I didn't want it to sound fixed, because of course we can make new neural pathways.
Sure.
So there is room for it to change and grow. But your mind is an abstract thing that takes the interactions that you have with your environment. So it takes that conversation you had with your neighbour or with your work colleague or whatever it might be, and it takes the information from your brain, and it takes all your emotions and all the way that your body responds when you're in different situations, and it takes all those things and more, and then tries to interpret.
Yes.
So that's outside of what your brain will necessarily do.
They might be in conflict with each other.
Yes. And so that was the fascinating thing that I started to explore with this idea about the suitcase, is that you've got this suitcase, which is your brain, capable of extension, but then perhaps your mind is bringing the ideas, like bringing the things to put into your suitcase. And a suitcase, I mean, it can stretch and grow, but generally when you're trying to put things in a suitcase, you're trying to...
Yeah, as we all know, when we go on holiday, shove it in there.
Shove it in there. Or some people are very, very particular with how they fold or roll or vacuum pack or however they put things into their suitcase. And so your brain has got a particular way that it wants to do things, thank you very much. And then your mind just comes and just chucks things in on the top of everything that's already there. And your brain is like, what the heck? What are you doing? And if it's new information, you might already have something in that spot. Say the new information you're throwing at it is toothpaste. It's like, but you've already got a toothpaste in here.
Yeah.
And you're just like, yes, but this is toothpaste that remineralizes my teeth, and I would like to have this. And then just like, but you already got the one that was the cheapest and it's already in its slot. Like, we don't need two toothpaste. Then your brain's going to have an argument with you, and your brain is saying, I've already got toothpaste, and your mind is going, but this toothpaste is worth...
We want this one.
we want the remineralizing toothpaste. So let's just take the other toothpaste out and we can slot this one in. And so if you can argue that with your brain will go, okay, I do see your point. I'm going to take out the other toothpaste and we'll put that one in. So that's sort of the end result of your overthinking. Your overthinking is actually your brain and your mind coming to an agreement on something as to whether or not that thing's going to get left out or whether it's going to get incorporated.
And there lies the struggle. Because we're just talking about toothpaste, but let's take it into the real world, and most of us have a situation that happens and we get into the overthinking mode, but actually we're trying to resort something. We're trying to challenge the status quo that we have in our brain, our brain set in the way it wants to go, the patterns that it knows, and so to challenge it and to bring change isn't always it's not so easy.
Well, it could be that you have a perspective of somebody and it's not that great in your experience. Says this person is not really kind, they don't value you, and then they come in and they do something that's really meaningful and special, and it's like they've put time and thought and effort into it, made an effort with you. Well, now what do you do with that? It's like, hang on, your brain's like, no, that's not how that person acts, and your mind's like, well, I mean,
I just saw something different.
It seems really nice. You're like, what on earth? And so now, I guess the thing with overthinking, it can happen in the moment, but the other thing, in the blog, I talked about an example being like New Year's Eve. So the 31st of December, you decide tomorrow my world is going to be different. I'm going to wake up and this is going to happen, and you have this awesome idea and you throw it in your brain and you zip it up and you run away. And so the picture that I painted in the blog was that your mind just drops it in there and takes off because it wants to keep partying because it's December the 31st. Thank you very much. There's other things going on that are much more important. But your brain is like, what is this idea? It doesn't fit and it's uncomfortable and it's got corners and it's poking into the lid, and the brain is quite concerned that it's going to make a tear there. Yet your mind has gone elsewhere because you've got people around and you want to catch up with them. Well, see, now at the first opportunity, your brain is going to go, excuse me.
Hello.
Excuse me. Just wanting to talk about what to do with this idea you put in here. And so when is that going to happen? when your head hits the pillow or in the middle of the night and your brain's like, oh, finally, mind, you've stopped. Okay, can we just have a conversation about this?
I love how you're putting this, because it just makes it far more fun for us to be able to take in new information.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think is the difference, because what was sort of revolutionary in my brain is that if you realise overthinking is your mind and your brain having conversation, if you realise that your brain is trying to maintain the status quo or do what's comfortable, and your mind might be willing to stretch and grow, now when you have that overthinking and it's going over and over and you can't reconcile, well, now you know a little bit about the two people who are having this debate, and you can actually think, okay, so I'm really struggling here. Is there something that I believe in my brain, an old mindset or an old idea, that I actually need to upgrade here?
Yeah.
And if you can realise that, I think that would be a lot easier to deal with and would shorten the overthinking process.
Yes.
Because now you're like, okay, I can see what's going on here. Let me help speed up the process a little bit.
Yeah. You're talking in your blog also about those closed suitcases. You know, we often will say, oh, that person's got a closed mind. They're very closed in their thinking. And this is, you know, those ones that are really set in the way and find it really difficult to receive new information or challenge the information that they have, and would rather stick with what they know. But I guess, you know, the problem with that is that people do change and grow, situations change and grow, and if we don't allow room for that, then we will keep people in boxes that we've always kept them in without allowing them to develop and change over time.
Well, I look at my life and I can see that I've changed. If somebody who knew me 20 years ago came and had a conversation with me, they wouldn't recognise me, but they'd come in thinking they knew me thoroughly.
Yeah, I'm right with you on the same railway track here. You know, I mean, it's the same with me. People would not recognise the Maree who sits here today to the Maree that was there, you know, 30 years ago. Dare I say 40 years ago?
50 years ago.
Blah, 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 blah. Boop, boop. Beep, beep. But it's the truth, because my life has done a 360. Is that the complete turnaround? Is it a 180? There we go.
180 is the opposite direction. 360, you're back to where you started.
No, I'm not back to where I started.
Okay.
Definitely gone in the other direction. But without my first direction, I wouldn't be where I am now. And if I hadn't opened up that suitcase to challenge some of the patterns I had within myself, then I would never have grown, and I wouldn't be able to make the choices and decisions I make today that are based on more my desire to think outside my suitcase.
Wow, when you describe that to somebody who hasn't read the blog, they're going to be going, what? Why do you have to think outside your suitcase?
Outside the box, then. There we go. That one's far more what people know about. We put things in boxes and we tidy it away, and we want to keep it in there. But to allow a person or situations to change, we have to open the box. We have to open the suitcase.
And it works in the opposite direction too. I mean, somebody that you thought was lovely, who's actually been hiding some stuff really well. Sometimes we have put people on a pedestal and we're not actually willing to accept that they have faults just like the rest of us. And so that too can be something that it's really hard to accept. I'm thinking of this from the becoming unoffendable perspective, that we can put somebody so high that it absolutely devastates us when they are just fallible human beings, and it can be really hard for people to reconcile that.
Yeah, it's hard for the person on the pedestal too, because it's a long way to fall, Denise. You know, it can be, you know, when we put somebody up there and we have these ideas and expectations and they don't fulfill them, you know, everyone gets hurt. I guess not just the one thinking that, but the one on the pedestal that sits there. You know, we can damage people like that. You know, we're all fallible. We all have our issues, and you're right. Some people can hide those away, and I think probably do life from more of a closed suitcase. You know, they're happy to just keep doing what they're doing, but if anyone challenges that, then their little world might fall apart. Yeah,
that's right. And they actually come to believe that about themselves because everybody defers to them. They actually can start to think of themselves as quite different from everyone else.
Yeah, and then we're not willing to open up to new information, and new information is where growth is. It's where our development is. It's exciting. I've learnt that over the years to challenge myself in my own thinking. I am that person who is having the conversation in my head. I've learnt that it's fun and exciting to challenge concepts that I would have thought were, you know, the status quo, and then go, well, hang on a minute, is it? You know, or is there another way of looking at this, or is there another, you know, viewpoint that others have that, you know, I could, you know, come alongside, even though I don't agree right now, even though that's difficult.
Even thinking of that, again, thinking from this becoming unoffendable perspective, if you've got a person and you're just like, they were all bad, and now you see a good thing and you can't reconcile it, or they were amazing and now you've realised that there's some stuff going on in their personal life, say that's not great. How do you hold? Is it possible that both are true at the same time?
Holding tension there.
Because we tend to want to lump someone in as this is a good person or this is a bad person. But much like ourselves, I don't know about you, but I mean, I have good bits and I have bits that are probably not great. And they're both true.
Yeah. No, I'm just all fantastic.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's
Pleased
great.
to meet me.
We've got that coming up.
Oh, have we?
No, yes, no, we do have a song. I'm not sure that was the next one, but yeah, we don't want to end up like that. No, I'm just fine, just the way I am. Thank you very much. You know, I think.
Well, some people do think that.
I know.
And so therefore they judge everyone else very, very harshly. But the reality is we've all got our faults. And so if we can acknowledge that in every person, that goes a long way to not being offended, because it's just like, wow, I've got my low points. Let me give them a little bit of grace for their low points.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of this blog that you put out every week. Just the heading alone, becoming unoffendable. I loved it from the moment I heard it, because I think there's real life in that. This is where we get to touch those places that we often don't want to visit, which is new ground. What is that new ground? What does it look like? How do I experience this when all I've ever known is that? You know, and to not to be offended around things. And this is a learning process. It doesn't happen. It's a lifelong journey. But we learn so much about ourselves and others, and you're right, we can put people in places like, oh, they've done this, so they're always going to be like that. And our brain will refer back to what we know about that and confirm it for us, you know.
Yeah, because it's got all the evidence.
Absolutely. It's a great little judge sitting on its pedestal. I know exactly what that person did. I mean, I'm good at this, you know. I can have strong memories around things and go, I know this. However, I've learnt to challenge that because I've changed. I've developed. I've got a newness of life. So can't others have that as well? You know, are we going to allow room and space for situations and people to change? Just because somebody was like that, are they still like that? And, you know, the only information you're going to have is what you've got stored away in your brain about that.
Especially if it happened a long time ago and you've got this person pegged as the awful villain who did X, Y, Z. What if there's been a massive transformation?
Off air, you were wanting to head into a scripture.
Yeah, well, I thought considering this idea of, well, I guess there's a couple of angles of it. There's the idea of the fact that we have changed significantly over the last few years.
Goodness for that.
And I think that is worth exploring, having a conversation about. But there was a verse that particularly came to mind. It says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." And
this is out of the Bible.
that is
just for those that don't know, Denise. I mean, we know, but not everyone knows. Yeah, when we talk about Scripture, what is that? Yeah, it's a verse from the Bible.
Yeah, so be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so that's quite an interesting concept. And when I went to look up that verse, my Bible app had a verse of the day, and it says, "Set your minds on things above, not earthly things." I thought, oh, that's a goodie.
It is, isn't it?
So, I mean, we were talking at the beginning of the show in Pastor's Corner. Well, we, being you, were talking.
You were in the corner.
I was in the corner celebrating and clapping about how, that question of why does God allow suffering, and we can get our eyes on those things that are going on around us. But this verse says, set your minds on things above. There's another one that talks about, think about those things that are noble and right and honourable and all those sorts of things. So we can actually choose where we want to put our focus.
And it shifts our perspective, because if our focus is on the negative, then obviously we're going to see the negative. We're going to, our mood is going to slump, our thought patterns are going to be kind of dark, and there's no sense of, as we talked about, joy in that. Everything takes on a dull edge almost, whereas when we shift our thinking, we shift our mindset onto something that is good and wonderful and beautiful. And for me, I just straight away think about creation. I think about the beauty of a flower, or the beauty of the fields I might be looking at, the beauty of our maunga, Mount Karioi, and just how stunning it is at the different times of the day when the sun hits it, and the different shades and shadows you get, and you can see all the different shapes of the mountain that is there that you don't see in different lights. It's just, and you can just be in awe. You think, wow, we live in such an incredible creation. We can get stuck in the buildings and the roads and the cars and the things around us, but if we just shift our vision to another place and look at the ocean, look at our beautiful surroundings, everything kind of lifts. You see the different shades of light that are hitting the leaves out there even now, the different shadows that are created, and you think, wow, that's sparkling, it's beautiful, and everything kind of shifts for us and we get into a different mindset.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking about what we've been talking about today, about the mind versus the brain. And both of those verses, set your mind on things above and be transformed by the renewing of your mind, and then think on those things that are good and lovely and pure and all the other good words that it has listed in that verse. So thinking of our analogy of the suitcase then, because it uses the word mind, and I'm quite fascinated by that. It doesn't say set your brain on things above.
Yeah, for sure.
It says set your mind on things above. So if your mind is coming to your suitcase regularly, and its ideas and its thoughts are thoughts about good things, noble things, pure things, and that's what you're offering to your suitcase over and over and over again, well, then your suitcase is going to look quite different. Your brain and its patterns are going to look quite different to somebody who's getting stuck. You think of our conversation a couple of weeks ago or last week about vices.
Yes.
When we are getting carried away with something that just dulls the pain, when we're getting carried away with pleasure, when we focus on me,
self,
when we become less of who we are because we're trying to
be somebody we're not,
be someone we're not. All of those things, if that's what your brain's working with, it's going to shape itself in quite a different way than when your mind is presenting you with things like peace, with things like patience, with things like forgiveness.
Yeah.
That actually, wow. I'm
Yeah.
just thinking about that suitcase. It really is. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yeah, because if I think about the way I thought about myself and the patterns that I had in me when I think back, and when I received new information from others even, and then tried to digest that myself and receive that information, I couldn't. My suitcase was locked, jammed shut. I think it had chains around it, Denise. It was so locked up.
Wow, that's even worse than bungee cords. I was picturing bungee cords,
Yeah,
but
no,
you got
I can see a
chains.
chain with padlocks. Like,
Okay.
that baby was locked.
Wow.
I had to pick those locks, get out my welder and burn off those chains, and to receive that new information was a locked suitcase. So just to hear that for somebody else out there that might be in those situations, that not all is lost. We can get rid of the chains and the padlocks and have a look in the suitcase and allow the mind to bring in new information and receive it. If somebody encouraged me and said to me, "You did a great job, Maree," I'd be like, "Yeah, whatever." In my thinking, I'd be like, you can say that, but I couldn't receive it. And then create a new pattern in me that was based on the information that I was receiving from others. And I didn't believe it myself. We don't have to believe it. We just have to receive it.
Yeah, well, I guess if someone comes to you over and over and says, you did a great job, and your brain's going, I've got all the evidence to prove that you didn't.
That's correct, yeah.
That's where the overthinking would actually be, or it doesn't have to be overthinking, but that process would
Ruminating.
be helpful, because you've got to reconcile between those two things. Actually, I can remember someone, I won't say who it was, but when they were actually they were at the low point of burnout, and they were going down a very steep spiral, and before they hit that, they were feeling on top of the world, and they'd actually applied for a competition, and they'd gone through the regional level, and they were at the national level, and they were doing really well, and they were feeling like rubbish. Like everything in this person was saying, I do not deserve this, I am useless, I'm a failure, all that stuff. Well, then they won the national competition, and I remember talking to them, and they're just like, that was the point that I realised everyone else can see it, right up until they actually announced the winner. This person couldn't see it at all, but he said, with what everyone has said, and the fact that I've actually won this thing, there must be some truth to what they're saying, and that, for this person, was their bouncing point that they began to raise the spiral turn around. They're now going up it instead of down it. They couldn't understand all the way through this process. They were covering what they really felt like very well. They were doing the performances when they needed to do the performances, giving the speeches when they had to give the speeches, and did all the right things, whilst on the inside just crying out. But it was, for this person, hearing it from other people actually trumped what their own brain was saying.
Yeah, and we have a name for that, it's insecurity. That's what we kind of wrap it all up in. We have insecurity, but we have to understand what that insecurity is. Just hearing the word alone isn't going to shift anything in us. We have to understand our own insecurity and then challenge that insecurity and actually have the desire for change, the choice to make that. As we talked about in Pastor's Corner, the choices that we make, are they going to give life or lead us to death? Death in ourselves, death in our own belief that we can have any value in life. And yet each one of us has such incredible value in life. We are so uniquely made and created, and we all have something to offer and give in so many different valuable ways. And if only we could see, that value, if we could receive what others know about us and start to live out of that life changes. It's not about all the selfishness that we have been looking at, that is the need for me, but actually, you start to integrate yourself into your surroundings and the people around you, and you realise that, wow, this is pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible that I'm even here.
Yeah, I think when you put your faith or your trust in other people's view of you, you have handed over perhaps a part of you that isn't wise to hand over, because people will have bad days and people will say stuff that they regret, and people will in a rash moment say, whether they are teasing or in their mind or whether they're saying it out of frustration, they'll say negative stuff about you. And so that's where our faith comes into the picture strongly, in my view, because God, our creator, has created us for a purpose. He has created us with our weird and wonderful quirks because he wanted to reach people that other people could never reach. He wanted us to extend love and forgiveness to the people that are around us, and we've attracted a particular group of people because of where we live, because of who we are, and he knows that about us. And when he also knows that we're not going to get it right, and so he has no false expectation that we're going to be more awesome than we already are.
Yeah, tick that one.
I think that when we put our faith in our creator, we can actually grow a healthy perspective of ourselves.
Yeah, and he says some wonderful things. When I made that connection so many years ago in my life, and the wonderful things I heard God say about me, that I just could not even fathom that another being would think like that about me, when I knew my faults. I knew the things that weren't good or that needed developing, and yet he still saw me in health and wellness and just, this incredible place of beauty. Forever grateful for that, because I can look out there, like I said before, and look and see such beauty in creation. I couldn't see that in myself.
Wow.
This connecting to our creator, his thoughts on creation is always good. It's always just good. And to unpack that good and what it means, it sets our mind now on good things. And our brain will catch up with that the more that we engage with that good, because we've been in places that are bad, that aren't good for us or aren't good for the world in general. So to just change that status quo, many of us find good something that we want to almost push away from. It doesn't feel right. It means, for me, if I think back, I was like, I've got to be a goody two-shoes. Like, I've got to be like, I don't want to do that. That's not what it means. That's so not what it means. It's a sense that you get within yourself of absolute beauty and wonderfulness and wonder. You start to get really excited about life and not try and disengage with it, but engage with it.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting thing, because God has also put us in relationship. He's put us with people around us, and when you're talking about God sort of speaking things into your life and you couldn't believe it at first, well, I can remember somebody sharing a picture they had with me ahead of me, and it was a little girl running through a field, and I think she had a white dress with red flowers on it, and they were saying, God sees you as pure and as beautiful, and that's not how you see yourself. And I was like, that's the bit that I agreed with. Yeah, that's right. That's not how I see myself. But God was able to speak into my identity by giving this picture to somebody else. And so God does speak directly to us. Sometimes he speaks through the Bible. Sometimes he pops a thought into our mind or shows us something in say, the sunset or a moment of beauty. Other times he can actually give somebody else a word of encouragement for us. So it's amazing, because sometimes our relationship with God is deepened in our relationship with other people.
Yeah, so he doesn't leave any of us out. So cool. We're all connected if we want to be. We're all part of this incredible creation. And if you think about, the birth and being born, we fought to get here. At least we can do is fight to make it better. Let's leave this place a better place than we came into it. And that doesn't mean we have to change the world. It just means to have an impact in our sphere that we live in. Where do you live, and what do you want to engage with that's going to bring good, that's going to help another person in their struggles and their difficulties. Step outside of ourselves and value another human being in their time of need.
Yeah, so I think that's a great conversation. I love being able to bring the blog around to our faith and actually talking about it from a faith perspective. We don't always allow enough time to do that, so I feel like today was just a great addition to the blog, so thank you for allowing space for that.
Thank you for the blogs, Denise, because they open us up to have these conversations, and we need good healthy conversations. Let's look a bit deeper. Let's go into the suitcase and unpack some of those things. Let's bring in new thoughts and new perspectives, and not shy away from them, but allow them to permeate and have room for growth. So we are coming to the end of our show, and if you want to connect in with Denise's blogs, you can find her on denise.nz and other social media
that's
platforms.
my website.
That's her website.
Wow.
No, thank you. I've got it. It's a great website. You will find all our podcasts there. If you have a look on her site and travel around a bit, you will find all of our blogs on there, all our chats, marriage matters, Pastor's Corner.
Even some of our way old ones I'm going to upload there eventually.
Yeah, so who knows what you're going to find in the archives.
We've had some interesting conversations.
We've had some goodies in there. Some you're going to agree with and some you won't, but that's what it's all about. That's how we learn to have our own thinking processes and learn to bring in new information and mull it over ourselves.
Exactly.
Have a great week, Denise.
You too.
You've been listening to a Faith Matters podcast. If you have questions, email us on faithmatters98.1fm@gmail.com.